What's up guys, I'm Harsimran here from the YouTube channel ECAL, and I want to talk about the recent range increases that have been going on with the Model S and X. So without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. So let's roll the intro. So the Tesla Model S and X recently got a range increase, which put the range up to 390 miles for the S and 350 miles for the X. What that means is they have a lot more range than they did a while back. So previously, Tesla added their Model 3 motor to the Model S and X, which made their cars really efficient for everyday driving. And that meant that the range went up. And just recently, we know that the Model S had a range of 373 miles and the Model X had a range of about 328 miles. I don't know why I'm saying 200. It's actually 300. It's much higher than that. That is actually a sizable increase just by changing the motor. Now, they recently also changed some hardware components. We don't actually know exactly what they changed because they haven't told anyone really. But we do know that there have been hardware changes. Now that means that their range has gone up even further. Now Elon did talk about this just briefly on the Third Row Tesla podcast. So he touched upon it. He said that the Model S actually has a range closer to 380 miles rather than 370. What that meant was that with a few hardware changes, he can make it so much more efficient that the car increases by about 10 to 15 miles, which isn't really that big of a percentage if you think about it in percentage wise. It's only like 0.5%. It's almost nothing. Is it 0.5%? It's like only 5% increase in range at most. So it's not sizable. You can't say they did something drastic like change a motor or anything, but I guess with minor tweaks they slowly got the range up. And now the Model S and X actually reflect the real range that those cars actually get. So if you bought a Model S or X in the past few months, you likely have a change, and Tesla will push out a software update and you would just see the range of your vehicle rise by about 10 to 15 miles or about 20 to 30 kilometers, which is actually insane. So the total range for a Model S is now 390 miles or about 628 kilometers, but Tesla just likes to keep it consistent, so they just bumped it up to 630. Really, 2 kilometer distance doesn't really make a big difference when you talk about 600 kilometers. It's next to nothing, because just by the way you drive, you can impact that 2 kilometers rather than the fact that the car actually has that range. Just drive maybe like 2 miles slower, or like instead of driving at 110, drive at 100. Or if instead of driving at 120, drive at like 115, you'll easily gain more than 2 kilometers, probably like 10, 15, maybe even 20 kilometers of range just by doing that. Maybe more actually, because when you slow down, you actually get tons of range when you slow down. Electric vehicles are really efficient. I wouldn't be surprised if you're going like 60 kilometers an hour and you could basically go 1,000 kilometers on one charge, which is rare. Of course, you would not want to really drive 60 kilometers an hour for, how long would that take you? That would take you like 16 to 18 hours. That's a very long time to be sitting in a car. So the new range increases. So I don't actually know what they actually added in hardware changes because they haven't really told anyone. The Raven Model S and X, they just had a motor change and a few other, like they changed the suspension. So that might have helped, but the motor is the biggest impact, and maybe they shortened some wires, maybe they have less actual wiring throughout the car. I have actually no clue what they've done. Maybe they made the way they deliver power more efficient just by using software. I don't know exactly what they've done. But the point being, they're getting ever closer to reaching that 400-mile mark. 400 miles is actually a big milestone, because everyone who thinks electric vehicles don't have the range, they're like, oh yeah, my gas car can go like 400 miles on a charge. It's like, what are you talking about with your like 200-mile car? It's like, well actually, my Model S here can, it can pretty much smoke the Bugatti Veyron, the Bugatti Chiron. It could smoke any other, basically name any supercar you want. It can smoke all of them in just a simple drag race legally. And also, what's a better benefit? Well, you see, whereas your supercar can barely go 200 miles, but your gas guzzler that you daily drive can, my supercar or my luxury vehicle can also go 400 miles and smoke your supercars for less than a quarter of the price. It's just a scenario that I just created up, okay? It's nothing really. So That being said, that the new range increases are incredibly amazing that they've done that, and obviously there will be more improvements. With the Tesla, you can't just buy a Tesla and expect, oh, no more improvements. It could be you buy a Tesla and literally the next week they announce a new improvement. But you would probably get in your car if you bought it, if you ordered it this week or something. But if you got your car delivered and they announce it, chances are your car could also have it, because I think Tesla realized their mistake what they did earlier with the Raven, which they said that the new update, but it happened suddenly. It wasn't that it was in the cars beforehand, it was software locked like it is now. It was just, oh yeah, any car after this specific date, that's it. All cars had it after that date. So maybe you got your car delivered just before they updated it, which would kind of suck, but still, it's a pretty sick car, I'm not gonna lie. The Model S is a really good car. Even if you didn't get the Raven update, still a really, really good car. But forget the Model S for a second. Model X. 350 miles! You know how much that is for an SUV? Generally, SUVs only have a longer range than cars because they have a bigger fuel tank. Generally. They don't actually though. Most cars have a higher range because of just how efficient they are. Now this SUV obviously has lower range using the same battery pack, but 350 miles is a sizable amount. Like if you're traveling at about 75 to 80 miles an hour, you can easily get 250 to 300 miles without a problem. And at those speeds, you're basically traveling for at least 3 hours in one go, which most people don't do. Chances are you have to go pee, or you just want to stretch your legs for sitting for 3 to 4 hours straight. Like, come on, like chances are you're not gonna stay in the car for that long. That's how much you would stay in a normal gas guzzler too. Like, I've just been on a road trip. I went to New York City, like, what is it, 2 weeks ago now? And I realized, even though we've been pushing the car, every time we took a stop, we at least stopped for 20 minutes, no less than that. So if we had to wait 30 minutes, I don't think it'd be that big of a deal. We would have just like drank coffee or just ate something in the restaurant instead of eating in the car. I think that's the only change we would make. It's not really that big of a deal because I've been on a road trip with a gas car and, you know, easy filling it up, but it still takes a while. You have to find a gas station, go. All that detour takes at least 10 minutes. In those 10 minutes you could spend, you know, getting a coffee and eating or going to the washroom and whatnot while your car is charging, and wait another 20 minutes and it's done. Whereas on a road trip, you actually have to divert your normal route and actually find a gas station, wait for someone to fill it up, or you have to fill it up, where depending on where you are. Like in New Jersey, they do it for you. So it takes a really long time anyways, and then you want to stop and maybe grab something to eat, even just going to the washroom. We took just washroom breaks sometimes, and that alone took 15 to 20 minutes. That is insane. And that's like, it's only 4 of us going to the washroom, and it kind of makes sense. And I'm counting the time we took from being stopped to the time we got back in the car, not the time we diverted off the road and whatnot. I'm talking about that specific time that we weren't in the car for. And in that much time, especially if you have, okay, Model X would be a bit less efficient, which means you would have had to probably stay there for another 10 minutes. Honestly, 10 minutes is actually fine. You could just take a stroll around the block, or not block, maybe just like walk around, stretch your legs out, get back on the road. Simple as that. I would assume if you're not in a hurry, like you are generally in a gas car, you're more of in a hurry because you're like, oh yeah, let's fill up the tank, let's get back on the road. Oh yeah, let's eat in the car, do all this type of stuff. I feel like a Tesla with a supercharger network would actually be better, especially because you have autopilot and whatnot. It would be much, much easier. In my car, the SUV that we went in, the Infiniti GX35, it's the 2013 model. We have almost every car has this actually nowadays, the adaptive cruise control. So all I really have to do is I just steer. So that's pretty much it. And keep an eye on the road in case a deer or something pops up and brake hard or something. But generally that never happens. I just have to steer. All in all, it's really relaxing, and I drove for I think 3 hours in one go, and it wasn't, generally your feet would actually get tired, your legs, but because you're not actually moving your legs like gas, oh brake, gas, oh brake, or something like that, right? Car handles everything. You could just keep like one hand like that, one hand like that, and you could just keep one hand like that on the bottom of the steering wheel and just move it, and then you could switch hands and whatnot. You can't really switch feet. Come on, what are you gonna do? Like do that or something? Like come on, like what? Like that? I don't know how you're gonna drive with switching feet. Anyways, I'm getting, this literally, the topic just diverted. So the Model S and X got a range increase, Model 3 did not, but I would expect they would eventually, because they're mass producing the car, so making a slight change is actually harder. Whereas with an S and an with the X and the X, it's much easier to implement the change because they're only making about what 20,000-30,000 cars a quarter, which is, or a month or something. Yeah, like a quarter. So it's not much. It's easy to make the change. You can just stop the line for a day and then restart it tomorrow. It's not too big of a deal because they're really high-end cars, and generally people with money will buy them, not just the average Joe. Even the average Joe doesn't buy the Model 3 because they don't know about it. Yeah. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one. I just went off topic. So anyways, this was kind of boring, I guess, but I don't know. You can comment down below on that. Yeah. Let me know what you want to see in the future, and I'll try to make it and cover it. So yeah, stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.